the monthly chart, log scale, Bitcoin, stochastics, looking good here at this particular point in time, one would think and hope. It would be nice if it was going to continue to push up, but I want to be the devil's advocate here and look at the bullish side, of course, but I want to understand the bearish side for this market as well here, you know. So, you know, one of the things is that, you know, this particular top area through here, some folks have got this here as the A wave here, the B wave here, and then the C wave down here. And there is, you know, there is a nice 5-wave structure here. You know, it's a little bit dodgy down here at that thing, but you can see that those 5 waves are there. The question is, though, is that a B wave up here for that, you know, because really it still makes a nice 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 up here for that, you know, but so this is a bit of contention here, and if this is 5 waves of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to here, well, then it really leaves that 5 waves exposed here. So an A wave here and a B wave up here and then down again, you know. You can't put a lot of hope into the stochastics. They're just part of, you would use that with other things, but yeah, so that's the case. Understanding this bit here, and I've tried to understand it myself, but I have to say it is a little bit tricky on understanding that. But before we go in and have a look at that, have a look at some examples on some other markets, I just wanted to have a look at the CME Futures market here, because the only ones that I think that are of real interest to us are these ones here. These are hedge funds. These are the ones that you know, suck the money out of the retailers, so to speak. You know, they've got deeper pockets. So on the long side, they're still at this point here. They are reducing, you know, they have reduced, but they still have twice as much on the short side here, you know, 20% to 40% here. So they are getting squeezed, but they still hold that, and you know, they'll probably just once all the retailers are in, there's nobody else to get in unless then they start testing it by selling more and to seeing the response on the market. And yeah, so unless some big fish come in and take that on, I'm just saying that the sharks are still in the water. Okay, that's all I'm saying at that point. In terms of Bitcoin and that B wave that we're talking about here. Now there are cases, this is the futures market here, BTC here, futures, CME Futures here. So we can see that the paper money made up here, and you know, there's a case for having 5 waves up here for that. There's no doubt about that. If we go to some of these other bigger markets here, like Total, that's pretty important, you know, but it's not because you can see in this case that it, you know, really came quite high here, and there would be a case for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to finish off here. It looks like a 5th wave here, you know. CIX is a little bit on the downside for this one. So this is CIX is the is an index for 100. The top 100 here for that. So in this case, well, it's lower here, isn't it? It can make a it could make a B wave. So there's a good case to have it as a B wave at that point because it's lower. And also too with this one here, grayscale here, that's the same as well here. So in this case, we could also look at this as an ABC pattern here, because it hasn't taken out the top here. So, you know, I'm still left a little bit sort of this way or that way with it, really, in having this as a wave B here and a wave C. Obviously, there's a good possibility for it at that point. So, let's just cruise on a little bit and come back here and then go to the weekly and just start to have a bit of a look at this here. So we don't need this here at the moment. And we don't need all of that, so let's just So we're on the weekly chart here. It is log scale, but it's not a big deal. So yeah, just coming back to this, we can look at it as 3, 4, and 5. That's, I mean, it's a real possibility, you know. And yet we could also, you know, looking at grayscale and CIX, we could look at it as a B wave. So I don't want to argue about it. I just don't have an answer for it. That's all. But just pointing that out, and we have talked about it before. I think that most people agree that there is a nice, reasonably 5-wave structure down here. There is a case that this doesn't finish off very nicely down here, and I would agree with that. So, you know, in that case, we could probably put this as a wave 4 over here, and we had it here, but to lift it up to here is a little bit too much. It's not a big deal to put it up there, actually, when you look at it. If you looked at this as wave 2 here, and then that's where you'd have to take it down here for wave 3 at this point, so then the 38.2% comes up here. So realistically, we could have an A and a B and a C wave to this point here for wave 4, and then we could come down at that point. But because this market has really been in tune with the NASDAQ, I don't think that we can go for the wave 4. We're better off going for the B wave, even though it hasn't come up here. And we need to talk about that a bit. We have seen this chart, did it a little while ago, and there's plenty floating around on the net and all the rest of it. But, you know, this is NASDAQ and Bitcoin. So, you know, they get out of whack here and there, but generally, you know, they kind of bob along together in a sense. And the thing is that you know, while we've been rallying here, we know that the US banks have been very bearish, and they still continue to be bearish, and indices that hold banks, be them, you know, top tier or regionals, those sectors, you know, they or indices that hold any of those, they're under a lot of pressure, you know. But I must say that the NASDAQ, you know, that's been, you know, powering to the upside without too much problem. So I think we need to have a look at that for a moment. I'm just getting that organized in the background. Now, for the NASDAQ, when I show these charts, we've got, I'll show a bullish chart, because, you know, we can look at Bitcoin bullish, but all I want to say here is that the NASDAQ, this is a daily chart, has been pushing up, right, where the S&P has been lifting up a little bit, but the S&P is really, you know, being sort of taken over by, like, the banks, basically, you know. So depend on what indices that you look at, but the banks, whichever way you want to look at it, the banks have still got further to go down here. So then you ask yourself, well, shouldn't the NASDAQ sort of follow the S&P a little bit? And yeah, generally they do, you know. They can have different highs and lows, they can have slightly different counts, but generally speaking, you know, they'll move along a bit in the, you know, together in their own way. It's a bit, you know, it's a bit like, you know, since the stock market began, you know, it's always been going up, hasn't it? Because of, well, realistically, it's because of the growth in population. So the population growth and the stock market would have a correlation to there. Now, obviously, we know that the population is kind of, you know, it's going to top and diminish. We know that. There's those people making the beds are not doing a good job, obviously. Or whatever the case may be. But look, the bearish count for this too is that we'll go to 50k here. So there is a bearish count for this, and all we're looking for the bearish count is we're looking for just another little push up here, and then a drop at that point. That would be the bearish count, and that's kind of valid. This will come in around Wednesday, Thursday, when the Feds announce the funding rates. So that will be on Wednesday, 2 p.m., so to speak. Yeah, so the NASDAQ can turn, and then with the stock market and the NASDAQ stocks from the all-time high up here, say in 22, and we're in 23 now, we've seen the market come down. So with the NASDAQ stocks, there's a bit of a mixed bunch. There's two patterns that I've been looking at. One is where the market goes up quite high here, like say Nvidia, and there'll be many others. So those ones, they're just about topped out here. They've got a little bit more to go up here, just a bit like the NASDAQ that I've shown. So they will come back in some sort of ABC pattern and pull back down, and then sort of climb up. Now there's stocks that haven't climbed all this way up here. They've only, like Amazon, it's only climbed up here somewhere. So when this pulls back here and the S&P makes new lows, then this will back down and make new lows here. So some tech stocks will make new lows, and some may not. I mean, Tesla and Facebook here, for example, here. This is the same move up really for Bitcoin really in its own little way. So this one here really has just got one more little push up here, and then it's got an ABC pattern to come into play here. Now it could be deeper, it could be shallower. I can get an ABC pattern up out of this as well, but this is the better fit at this point. But what I'm saying is that be it the NASDAQ, be it Meta Platforms, be it Nvidia, Microsoft, Google, all Amazon, all of them, they're just about to top later in this week. Okay, so what I am saying here is that there is still a correlation between the NASDAQ and the top tech stocks and Bitcoin. So that brings us over to Bitcoin. So we could say that there's a good case for tech stocks to turn later in the week, and we got the Fed's fund rate meeting coming into play. So we know that there's going to be a turn in the market. We know that there's going to be, we don't know what's going to happen with the Fed's rates, of course. They have consistently stuck to their to their pathway, and these banks failing have got nothing to do with that's not true, is it? But them failing is just a weakness in their own management and their banking holding ratios. So it's got nothing to do with the inflation story as such. So it looks like the government are getting together to secure all banks, which is secure funds in all banks in the US. Which I think is a good thing, because when you think about it, the fiat currency, the money, that's their product, and they licensed it out to these people, these banks and other institutions. They licensed them, and they need to regulate them. There's a third-party regulation that needs to regulate these bodies. I mean, I've got a financial license, and I know, dotting the I's and crossing the T's and all of those sorts of things are, it's a big job, when I've learned that there's 4 parts to a business, and one's financial, one's legal, one's product, and one's marketing. So I just sort of try and keep it simple in those 4 groups there. But the legal side, and the fiat currency is their product. They need to secure it. They need to look after it. And they haven't really looked after it, have they? I mean, it's just since Nixon took it off the gold standard, it's become the true value of it's become less and less and less and less. I mean, the Romans did that with their coins, didn't they? They put holes in them to take money out. They put more copper in them, and they did. Every civilization's been doing this. They're all printing more money in their own little way. So yeah, money is kind of worthless, which makes, in a way, Bitcoin's worthless as well, but its only sort of true value is its transparency, and it's limited 21 million of them, you know. So what would you want? Would you want something that there's an endless supply of something, or something that's actually got a limited edition, you know? So yeah, but I think they can just go on and print as much money as they want. All they need to do is change the relationship of paying the interest, you know, like they detached from gold in 71. They could do the same, change the relationship between the Fed and the government in that regard, and they can print as much as they need. I mean, it's freaking worthless anyway. What's the difference, you know? It's just basically trust, isn't it, you know? And then they'll use the law to back it up. Anyway, I went off track there a little bit, but always good to have a bit of a chin wag. The situation is that these tech stocks, you know, whichever ones you want to have a look at. This is Microsoft here. We're just looking at one more move up, and then we're looking for a move down. So I'm wondering, you know, what is going to happen here for Bitcoin. You know, the 50% and the 60% is much higher up here. Could we climb up there? In regards to the trading levels, this is a major level here, so we just go 1, 2, and 3, and 1, 2, 3, 5, and 8. So we could go 10, 20, 30, 50, 80. But this is a nice one here at 30, isn't it? I mean, it's really the balance line on all of this. You know, if we looked at all of this pattern here, we've got equal above roughly and equal below here. This is the balance line. So what it's really doing here is it's going back and checking the supply here. And we know that the paper money, the futures contracts, are double the size. So they have diminished a bit, but they're not out, they haven't been flushed out yet. So this is the point where they will be watching, and this is the point that they would be adding to their shorts. That's what I would be doing anyway. I'd be selling, you know, if I was a trader, I would be selling into supply, you know. So those boys are a bit smarter than us, well, so to speak. So yeah, they're just sort of holding that. They can, you know, they've got deeper pockets. So if there's going to be a failure, we can see that the NASDAQ, from all the tech stocks, you know, have got a good few sessions to push up, and then they're going to turn at that point. So, you know, the thing is here, are we going to turn here too? You know, is that going to be the thing, you know? That's the point. And I don't know. Do you know what I mean? I really don't know. I can go in here and give you an intraday count and look at it in different ways. But yeah, I mean, I'd only turn sort of happily bullish on this if this market could. I mean, it's going to have some sort of reaction once it gets to the 30 anyway, right? It's reacted when it got to the 28. So the 28 is we'll call between 20 and 30, there'll be 1, 2, 3, 5, and 8, and we always call 8 a profit-taking number. So that's what's happening there. But basically, we would still need to find, you know, a classic trading levels pattern here and this to go long at this point here. So that's what we're looking for there. And this is the supply zone. This is the balance zone here. So yeah, look, we got 5 waves here, so we can get another 5 over here, because we could have had that over here as wave 4, as we talked about, as an A and a B and a C, or something that we had to work through. So then we know that, well, we've got it's taken out the top there, so that means we can count 5 waves up here. We could get an equal length, but the trouble is we're hitting supply, so that's not there. But we can get rid of the wave 4, so we still got to, you know, we could still be bullish here, that's for sure. But I just don't know if it's going to detach itself from the NASDAQ. It hasn't actually let go of it, you know, in that regard. So yeah, this is a high risk area here. That's what I reckon. And if we do come down, then we'll have to come down to 10, you know. there'd have to be some sort of equality between these two lengths here to a point, you know. There would have to be something here, you know. People have mentioned all sorts of prices down here, and yeah, but doesn't, you know, we just have to count the waves. But so if the NASDAQ fails, if the S&P should be pulled down by the banks, and will the NASDAQ be far behind it? That's the point. And will Bitcoin won't be far behind the other ones? So anyway, this is where it can top it. This is where it can fail at the 30 here. So then let's have a little look at the structure inside of here and see how it could fail at this point. So last time we spoke, we were looking at this as wave 1 up here, or we can look at it as wave A and B here. There's normally some sort of equality between, you know, the length of wave A here, and that's the length of wave A roughly off the low there, give or take, you know, being in Australia, and that's the length of it here. So it's not such a big deal really, is it? Do you know what I mean? We're not far from it. I mean, we could go 3, 4 and 5 here really. Do you know what I mean? Wave 3, wave 1 has got the length in it, wave 3 is a bit smaller, wave 4 here, and then wave 5 needs to be smaller than wave 3, and that's it. And that's our ABC pattern here. Now, is that the case? Well, buggered if I know, but I'm just saying it's possible and it's plausible. I mean, it's, you know, it's got the same length as wave A here and wave thing, you know what I mean? We're meeting supply here. We can see that the paper money is still in the market. They haven't been pushed out, you know, they're holding on, that, you know. So yeah, that's it really at this point. So it can fail here for that. I'm just going to jump to the intraday, and I'm just going to kind of go halfway and go to 5 here, and yeah, so we can just get a bit more data. So we had wave 1 up here and wave 2 for the bullish count, right? So I'll just remove that. Might just clean up a few of these objects as well here now. Do that a bit later. Don't need these now. Oops, wrong one. Yeah, we got this wave 2 here. So we counted up here as 1 and 2 here, and 3, 4, 5 up here for this. I can see another count here too that that would make this wave 3 and 4 and going up for wave 5 here, but I don't need to go there just yet with this. So the this length here, it'll just be interesting to see. That's just roughly right. So it'll be interesting to see how this, you know, if this is blue wave 1 and blue wave 2 here, for example, right, then we'd want to see, let's just change a few of these things. Let's just turn that to a wave 2, and we need a wave 3 up here. 1, 2, 3, and we're just going to have a look at it at the minimum count, and then we can have a look at it in another way as well. So we could look at it as 1 and 2 here. I've got this little, I counted up here. I did a little bit of work on this. I'm not sure if it's spot on or anything like that, but and there is a bit. If I look at this as 4 here with 1, and then wave 2 here, and 3, 4. There is a bit of an overlap on this, so it could be wrong, and I may need to put this here and a few things like that. But I was looking at this as wave 1 here and 2 here, and then a little wave, blue wave 1 in here for blue wave 2, then 1 and 2, and then from here I was looking at that as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to there, so 5 waves to here, so 1 and 2, and 3 and 4 and 5. So I'm okay with that big third wave in there, and then I've got the 4th and 5th for the third. The 4th here could probably go over here, could probably even put it over here, but then I'd need to change this around a little bit and put this over here and do that. But I'm kind of okay with it at this point. Now I might need to change this a little bit, or we might have another idea, but the thing is that we're in group 2 here. So from 25 after 5, what number's after 5 is 8, isn't it? So this is 8 here, 28,000. So we can see that this is a little bit corrective here. We may get a move back down here, but normally what I find is that if you get to, well, normally when you get to 5 here, if you get support on 5, then you'll get to the next bus stop up here. Along the way, if it's going to fail, it's going to fail here. But normally, it would look like a failure at this point, and it's not. It looks like it still wants to go higher. So it looks like the probability of it pushing higher is, in my humble opinion, very strong. So I just don't know if I need to put wave 4 here or put wave 5 here and this here and this here and this here, and then look at this as wave 1 here and 2 here. So there's different ways to bake this cake, so to speak, you know what I mean? So I'm not that sort of fussed about it. This is positive as long as it stays in group 2. So group 2 low here will be 26,500 here. Okay, that's a 65 number, 6572 as I call it. Probably not on the nose there, but yeah, so all of group 2, minor group 2. So we'll see, in one way or another, we'll see a push up here. So the next question is that if I was being bullish here, I would say that, well, if I get to here, and that's 5 waves from here to here, it's not longer than wave 1, right? At this stage, it's not longer than wave 1, roughly speaking. So we'd have to call it wave 1 here and coming back for wave 2 here, and then we continue to move up at that point. That would be the bullish count that I would be looking at, you know. I would be looking at then as wave 3 up here and wave 4. That's how I, you know, as a bullish move, I would look at that like that, and then put wave 3 up here with, you know, with the wave 5 coming into this space up here. So that's how I'd look at that, with a nice strong third wave in here with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But what I'm afraid of is I'm afraid that the NASDAQ could top out on Wednesday afternoon session, Thursday morning. We've just got to watch how that turns. And if that's the case, then, you know, I may need to look at this top here as wave 3 and 4 here, and then a smaller wave 5 here. And then that would give us wave C at this point. I'm just being the devil's advocate here and taking into consideration what I'm seeing with the tech stocks, you know. Now, I could be wrong, of course. So the whole thing is a process. If you're long here as a trader, then taking profit at the next biggest number, I would normally take money off the table, a big whack of it at group 2 here, and then take the rest of it at 30. That's the way I treat the levels, you know. Because if it's going to fail, it'll fail in group 2 here. So I'm normally a 72 man, so take it at that point. But I always like to have a bit of a look at it as well. I'm happy to get out and get back in and do all those sorts of things as a trader. But you trading long here as a trader, that's your target here, the 30. And yes, it can go above, and yes, it can drop back here. The thing is that when you're in looking at this level here, and why we're here, we need to talk about this too. That's 100, 200, and 30, oh sorry, 30, 33, sorry, lose the plot, 33, yeah, 33, close enough for the time being. So all of that is group 1. So this here is the swing, group 1 and group 2, that's the swing range. So if you're going to hold here and you think the market's bullish and it's going to keep on going, and you could very well be right, I'm just sharing ideas. So, but this is the swing range that you would have to put up with, that you would have to accommodate. So I always find as a trader that it's better to make decisions before you get somewhere. So for me, I know just out of habit that I'd be taking some off here and then the rest here. Now, I know that the market can it may not, the normal thing is that it would hit here, come back to here, go up to here somewhere, come back and swing around like this a lot. I know all that, but I'm just not interested in it. Do you know what I mean? I've got my piece of the cake and I'm eating it, because all of this here, it's like, oh, I dropped back, I should have gotten out, and then so you get out and then it goes up here. And then at the end of the day, if you just took it at 30, you would have had a balanced view. And at the end of the year, doing that type of thing, you'll come out a lot healthier and a lot wealthier. So that's what I've learnt about the levels and using price, But anyway, they're the things. So we're looking for, as I mentioned, we're looking for Microsoft and Google and all, the whole kit and caboodle of them to to top out. And I'm thinking Wednesday because of the Fed thing, but look, it could be early next week too, I don't know. We'll know when we get there, and same with Facebook and all of that. So yeah, so that's it really. We just got to see how the cookie crumbles. So one other guide stick is the NASDAQ getting to 13,000. Because we've got this counted up here in a series of different ways here. So this little wave 4 here really is like this little wave 4. They're the same pattern. That's why when I was doing this, I labelled it wave 4 straight up. When I looked at this thing here and go, okay, how do I label this? Well, I know where the NASDAQ is, and this is a wave 4, so I'll start there, and then I work back and put it all together. That's what I did. But I could have started in the middle, could have started anyway. Just start with something that you recognise. But yeah, so the NASDAQ at 13,000, Bitcoin at 30,000. Have a look at Facebook here. We've got wave 4 here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, a little fifth wave up here that'll take a little while, and that top's important. So we're approaching our top, and I just want to drive that home a little bit. Now I don't know if we're going to still be bullish after all of that, or we're going to be bearish, or there are stocks like Nvidia that can have wave 3, wave 4 and wave 5. So Nvidia's like that. There's not many of them, so I'll just bring Nvidia across here because I think it's I think they're all kind of somehow connected. So with Nvidia here, as far as the crow flies, we're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4. I'll just draw that to there. We're going up to this wave 3 here, then back to wave 4, and then going up to wave 5 here. So there's some markets like this. So that could fit into Bitcoin, that particular pattern, And then we have a deeper move back down, Anyway, that's my 2 bobs worth. So I'll just leave it at that. So it'll be interesting to see. I mean, it would be really nice if I was going to turn positive. I'd need to see 1, 2. I'd like to see a bigger third wave here. If we don't get a longer third wave, we've got problems. If we do get a longer third wave, that would be fantastic. I just don't know if we're going to do that because I can see the markets creeping at the moment. And if we had 3, 4 and 5 here at a decent sort of thing here, then we would have this come back and then we can go up at that point. We can look at it like that. But I don't think that's what the tech stocks are going to give us. I think it's all going to be sort of squashed up into, I think it's all going to be squashed up into this space here. And we'll have to sort of decipher it, Because when you look at this here, this was really strong, right? The angle of this and the angle of this move here being a third wave is not stronger than wave 1 here, is it? No, it's not. So it's sort of a bit sleepy at the moment, isn't it? It's like anybody that was going to get in is already in, and I think that's what the paper boys can see, I learned to trade in the futures market, so I kind of know how they look at the retailers as bait. And they can see more as well, especially if they're members of an exchange, they can see more I mean, you can see whatever you need to see on spot Bitcoin, that's for sure, which is good on chain. But you can't see into the futures market unless you're an associated member or whatever. So you can't see where orders are. Alrighty, I'm going to leave it at that. Thanks for tuning in. Cheers.